What she got?
I didn't look into it too much, but she's got a couple of things. For everybody just tuning in, we're talking about how the Ninja Turtles added a female turtle to the cast, to the lineup.
This is then the comic?
Yes. So that's interesting. It only took them 40 years?
Something like that.
And a dying franchise to try some new things.
Yes and no. Maybe not be as popular. I think it's kind of hard to be as popular as it was because it was like everything and everywhere.
Well, I don't know, man. You could have fooled me with these 90s franchises.
Yeah, this is true. All right, so
ready, bud?
Just about. Man, you've seen this agenda, right?
Yeah, I've seen this agenda. That's why I got a large iced coffee.
Yeah, we're gonna be here for a minute. All right, Gabe, you ready?
Oh yeah.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Second City Kids podcast, episode number 125.
1, 2, and 5.
Yeah, we are a 1/4 of the way to 200. No, that's low. That's totally wrong. That's way wrong.
We're
technically it would be
a
like
quarter of the way to 200. That's not wrong because we're 25 episodes in and we need 75 more.
But I'm saying from 0 to 200, we're like maybe like 60% or something like that.
We're a quarter of the way to 500. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually,
that
that makes sense.
right. Yeah.
As you can tell, we're not math kids on this podcast.
Hey, I deliver boxes, all right? So there's that. All right, so, yeah, we're back on a cold, not cold, colder, damp.
It looks like fall, but it feels like summer.
Yeah, it's a damp, dark day on the south side of Chicago, which is a change of pace from the 100-degree days that we've had, like, consecutively for the last 3 days.
Yeah.
It's been really fucking hot. Speaking of which, dude, like,
I'm good.
You all right?
Yeah.
You all right?
I'm making faces out here.
Okay. What was I at? Oh, so last night around 8 o'clock after I showered, my ComEd decided my powder was going to go out. So my power went out for 2 hours.
Ta-da.
Yeah, so I'm like, fuck that. We're packing up the baby. We're going to my mom's because I'm not about to sit here and bake. But, yeah, they turned it back on, so I can't really cuss them out too bad. But that's the second time I did that yesterday. I did it twice. Did it once like in the afternoon for like 15 seconds and it turned back on.
Coming out here wilding, huh?
Yeah, so they did something. They were doing something wrong, bastards, and they knew it. But we're not going to get into that. Apparently 400 homes in the area went down because of that. So, yeah, we're not going to get into it, though. So we have a note. I don't know if you saw this note.
I saw it just now.
So the note is Blueberry McGriddle. So they have a Blueberry McGriddle coming out. How you feel about it?
So I'm assuming it's blueberry, the bread, right? The English muffin that they use.
Yes.
I think it'll work.
It's like a pancake. Because the McGriddle is like an amalgamation of all great things that are breakfast. Let's be real.
Well, quote unquote.
I mean, yeah. Sausage.
Just because you got all the best pieces out of different jigsaw puzzles. Check that review out.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I like the blueberry aspect to it. I don't know if it'll work in execution because what is it? It's sausage,
egg, and cheese, or bacon, egg, and cheese. In some parts of the country, they do chicken in there, so it's like a chicken and waffles kind of experience.
Can we get some chorizo in there?
Ugh. Now you're asking too much.
Today was my 5th burrito this week, so I'm on a roll.
Jesus Christ. I don't even trust most Mexican places with chorizo. I'm definitely not trusting McDonald's with that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Jesus. All right. So, yeah, that was my note. So, as mentioned on the pre-roll, we got this fat-ass agenda. You may have seen me fail to tweet it out twice this week because grammar. See, like, the thing is, like, I type it out in my head, but I'm speaking it as I'm typing it out, and I'm skipping things because I said it out loud. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, anyway. So, we had, like 12 things on the movie docket?
It looks like 12 things.
Yeah.
I'm about to count these.
So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started.
Let's start plugging and chugging. So, The Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie from DC, had a pre-screen testing. And so the article stated, did you read the article by any chance?
I did, yes.
So the fans loved it. The test audience loved it. However, the executives and the Warner Bro. High-ups essentially said, take it back to the fucking kitchen.
Yeah, fix it, because apparently it's broken.
I don't understand, because we're at this kind of state in DC where they're cranking out just crap. Even some of these later animated movies, I've always said the DC animated movies are the only saving grace of DC at the moment. But now those are starting to lose a bit of touch too, man.
They're slipping?
They're slipping just a little bit. But we're why does it matter if your fucking executives hate it?
It's funny because the executives literally will not pay to see this movie once. they will never pay to see it ever because they're gonna get the free screenings all they want, right?
Yeah, dude, I don't understand it. And the pre-screening test, I think for them is super vital because like I said, they're in this kind of critical state at the moment. But it's just like, well, if your audience fucking loved it and it was like well praised, why would you send it back?
It doesn't make any sense.
What more do they want to add, or what do they want to remove?
Yeah, the philosophy behind that is ridiculous because, like I said, the executives at Warner Brothers are not going to be the ones paying to see this movie at the box office. That's not their deal. So whether they like it or not is irrelevant. What should matter is what your fans like, especially with a group of movies that have been kind of getting, what's the word?
The short end of the stick.
Yeah, critically kind of slapped around a little bit. I think you should be kind of stoked if the fans, at the very least, like it. Because the critics are gonna like what the critics are gonna like. You can't force them to like your movie, but at the very least, the fans will step up to bat for it if they enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's even more important because they are the ones physically paying to go see the movie, and they're the ones that are going to be generating your box office revenue.
Absolutely.
So whether the executives like it or not is completely fucking irrelevant. And all they should really care about is one thing: is that if it makes money, and they should kind of stay in their lane. That's how I feel about this.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous, and simply because of the fact that it was well fucking received, which we were both shocked to read.
Yeah.
Is the fact that there was a great opportunity for DC to make a comeback film, especially with I don't want to call her quite a side character, but not one of the mainline heroes, with Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And it's such a good opportunity to kind of be like, hey, we don't completely suck ass at this.
Yeah. And it's just when you sent me the article, I was originally thinking, well, maybe the execs like it and the fans didn't. Like in my head, that's what I thought. But it was the other way around. And I'm like, well, who fucking cares? Like I said it out loud to Adrienne. I'm like, who the fuck cares? She's like, what are you talking about? I explained it to her. She's like, yeah, it's ridiculous. So Warner, keep your fucking hands off this shit. Let the guys do what they want to do. Obviously, they seem to, the makers of the property seem to enjoy what they're doing.
I'm sure you have to in some capacity to even be on the project, right?
Yeah, and the fans seem to like it. So who the fuck cares what you want? You're irrelevant. The fans are what matter here. So maybe y'all should take a fucking...
Yeah, man. Maybe they're just trying to sneak in some more merchandising opportunities.
Yeah, take a lap or something.
Fuck that
yes.
shit. All right, so we got some Bond news as we're kind of ramping up towards the release of Bond 25. Talk to me about this new OO.
So so obviously, Daniel Craig is still going to be James Bond. He's still going to be 007 in this movie. But apparently, what the rumor is that they're going to be handing off the reins to the 007 title to another person. I'm going to go ahead and pull this information up so I can get the name right. But it is something that I think is going to cause a great amount of controversy in the coming months.
So this is the fan theory coming to life. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah.
Where 007 is a title and not a person?
Well, yeah, 007 is the title, not so much James Bond, because that was kind of the fan theory, is that James Bond was a different person every single time. But this is a black woman. Her name is Lashana Lynch, and apparently she's going to be taking on the 007 title after Daniel Craig's Bond moves forward. So I think it's interesting. But with that, I think this will be the cap off of this set of 007 movies. I don't see her being like the new 007.
You mean that they're not going to make any more Bond films
for this set? The Daniel Craig set is over.
So the new title you're saying isn't going to be a James Bond movie. It's going to be 007 subtitle.
No, I'm thinking that they'll find a new James Bond and then we'll totally forget about this chick.
No, you think they're going to pull one of those on us?
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to give her the franchise. I think this is something that's just gonna cap off,
kind of like a spiritual nod.
Yeah,
says, "Hey, I'm Daniel Craig, and I'm fucking done with this."
Yeah, absolutely. It's more of that. I think.
Do you have any idea how hard it was for me to resist saying I'm Daniel Craig and this is Jackass? No, I think first and foremost, I think I've been saying that 007 should be that title that's passed on. Since since Skyfall.
Yep.
Since we kind of had our deep dive on the Bond films a year or two ago.
Spectre is when we took the huge
deep dive on, yeah. Right? But I love the idea. That being said, we'll see what they do, man. I don't think it's totally out of the ballpark to hand the reins over to a woman. I don't really care that it's a woman. I think as long as she's a good actress and she fulfills the role, I don't think you could have put a bear in that spot. And as long as the bear fulfilled the duties of 007, I don't think I would have been upset.
Yeah. So it's just I don't know. Like I said, I don't see this being like a new full-time replacement. This is just something to cap off Daniel Craig's Bond. So when they move over to the next guy, it's like a new thing, a new set.
Gotcha. We got some more spy talk in a bit. I'll double back to the Bond talk. But what's the next topic?
Double O back.
I'll double O back. to the Bond talk. Talk to me about Crimes of Grindelwald. So we're grossly late on a lot of these things. And
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because this belongs to an IP that we both kind of cherish.
Yeah, quite a bit, actually.
Quite a fucking bit.
Yeah.
You want to know how much goddamn Hogwarts merch I have at the house? Probably too much.
Probably a shit ton, yeah.
So you watched Crimes of Grindelwald.
I did.
What'd you think?
Have you seen this?
No, I have not.
Okay, so...
You've seen the movie before, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, okay?
I was not crazy about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I thought it was interesting enough. I thought it kind of expanded on the universe, and not so much like the Harry Potter-ishness of it all, but the Wizarding World as a whole, because there's definitely a sect of both, right?
There's a 70-year gap or something?
Yeah, probably more at this point. But I liked the first movie. My sisters really loved it, so I kind of like the counterbalance on that. But I enjoyed it. But I didn't enjoy it enough to immediately want to see Crimes of Grindelwald in the theaters. Like it wasn't
as you may tell by this review.
Yeah,
in
that's
2019.
That's what it is. So, it's on demand on Comcast or whatever. So Adrian's like, well, fuck it, let's do it. So I'm like, all right, cool. We sat down. Noticed the Rotten Tomatoes mark, and it was a little low. And I'm like, well, you never know, so whatever. We dug into it.
Can't trust those websites no more.
Yeah, not really. Especially with like the sabotaging of the industry and all that, people just tanking reviews just to.
And with the whole Gotti situation, where those reviews were just over the top, and the movie ended up sucking balls.
Yeah, so we watched it, and I like some of the tie-ins to the Harry Potter universe. What eventually becomes Harry Potter's world. I think they pick some good people to play the younger versions of famous wizards from the universe. I don't like Johnny Depp in this role
as Grindelwald.
I don't.
What's your issue with him?
He is not at all intimidating. He is not at all menacing. There's nothing about him, or maybe it's his design, because the whole albino thing kind of is off-putting to me. But there's nothing intimidating about him at all. So I'm having a hard time believing him as a dark wizard.
How does that compare to the end of Fantastic Beasts? Because when we saw that film, I told you this is arguably one of the most powerful wizards we've ever seen on screen, because he's deflecting all these shots with his bare hands, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of liked his design in that film. How does that compare between the two? Do they go in and completely redesign him?
I mean, I wouldn't say completely. He was, again, the whole Johnny Depp thing was kind of off-putting to me, but I think it was kind of in the same vein as far as like his physical design. He does do some really awesome things as far as like the magic and kind of showing his power, but it's not really believable. I don't believe it. Like I didn't really like the design of Voldemort. We talked about this in the past. I didn't really like the design of it, but I couldn't believe that he would do the things that he would do.
Yeah, that actor was phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't believe that Johnny Depp could do the things that he does. His character. All right. But with that being said, Jude Law Dumbledore is fucking awesome. All right. He's not in the film as much as I would like. But if it does a pretty good job of starting to set the stage for bigger things. But with that, this movie gets left off on a cliffhanger.
So we're gonna get a sequel or another spinoff.
Yeah, there's gonna be a sequel to. So just when it starts to get interesting, because there's a lot of backstory shit that I don't care about, is from the kid from the previous movie, and none of it really mattered. Like in the long run, because it was all about Dumbledore and this guy, which should have been the focus of the whole entire film.
Hint, hint. Probably next one.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. As it started to get interesting, it's like, see you next time. I'm like, credits roll. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Good old Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I told Adriana, I'm like, that kind of sucked. She's like, yeah, it did, because it was really boring. There was nothing really interesting about it. And like I said, and as it started to ramp up, see you next time.
Well, okay. First and foremost, some of my favorite lore of Harry Potter is revolving around Grindelwald and Dumbledore and their relationship and their whole kind of premise there. That being said, maybe don't discount this movie and wait till the next one comes out, because I know there was a lot of issues with when Deathly Hallows Part 1 came out, and I had my comments and concerns about it too. But the when 2 rolled around, it kind of what's the word I'm looking here? It kind of completed it. There we go. Right, because it was a two-part movie. Yeah. Maybe this will be the same setup.
Yeah, that's definitely what it felt like. But there was moments of the first part of Deathly Hallows that we all enjoyed. All right, I think everybody, even like the fight scene in the cafe and them kind of being chasing around and all that type of stuff.
Sure, but like when I tell people that Deathly Hallows Part 1 is in my top 3 movie-wise, they look at me like I'm a fucking madman or something.
Yeah, well,
it's just a matter of how does this relate? Because that's mine and Maddie's thing when we talk about the Alien films. Because the prequels that they're going through right now, it's like, well, did you enjoy it? And we're like, yeah, I think so. and we're like not really sure. And then we both kind of agree that like, well, we need to see what comes next because this movie is clearly set up for the next one. And if the cap off pays off, then this setup movie therefore also pays off in that same sense, right?
Yeah, I see that. I just don't. I'm not really big on the leading man, Newt, whatever the fuck his name
Newt
is.
Scamander.
Yeah, I don't really like him. It's
okay.
In the first one, I didn't really like him.
He is kind of like an introvert and not. I wouldn't say he's not likable, but
he's not naturally charismatic though.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of point of his character in
Yeah.
Get Across, because you look at like Ronald Weasley and Potter, and they're super charismatic in one sense or another, and you kind of learn to love them, and you kind of grow up with them, blah, blah, blah. And that was the magic of the OG Potter films. Yeah. And so maybe they're taking a different approach on this. Yeah.
Like you said, that is kind of the point. He relates more to the beast that he deals with than the people around him. I get that.
But what's so fucking metal?
Yeah, but with that, though, like even some of the beasts that we see, like which I would feel are some of the highlights of the previous film, because we get to see all these different magical creatures. Even that was kind of diminished as a part in the film. So overall, I mean, it wasn't like god awful, but at the end, I did not feel satisfied at all.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, like in a movie, and especially in this kind of state of Harry Potter where we're starting to beat the horse, and Hot Topic is cranking out more Hogwarts merch left and right every week, it seems. So what is your final rating? We're doing A to F scale for this. F is absolutely hate it, never watch it again, probably
D.
do a full out. D. Okay, that's fair. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I don't know. We might have different opinions. Something tells me we won't, though.
Yeah.
Good, though. I'm glad we finally got around to it. At least one of us did.
One of us did.
Like I said, man, maybe the third movie will pay off. You never know. Because a lot of times we see that happen in film. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm enjoying this like November slate release for Potter, though. I will say that.
Yeah, it's nice.
It is nice. It gives it that wizarding feel. Like I'd imagine Hogwarts is cold as shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, like I said, maybe it's something that we can revisit once the new one comes out or whatever.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll check that out and then we can compare and contrast notes.
Yeah.
Talk to me about The Post.
So I saw this movie too. This is something that we saw last week. This is in the movie with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep about that was called the Vietnam Papers.
Mm-hmm.
All right, essentially what this is was a study done on Vietnam and how kind of America was involved the whole time when they were lying to the American public. It's a true story. All right, this actually happened. The Post is the Washington Post, and this is kind of the story on how the Washington Post was stopped kind of being the little brother and became the big brother of these things.
Quick question for you before you continue. How old is this movie? Is this recent or is this a couple years old?
Year and a half.
Year and a half old? Okay.
Yeah. 2 years at this point.
Because Tom Hanks is kind of a big name, and I don't ever recall seeing anything about this.
Meryl Streep's a big fucking name, too.
Yeah, Meryl Streep's massive. I love... Listen, bro, don't tell me about ABBA, because I got all that shit saved.
You're right. So, this was a really good fucking movie, okay? It kind of explains the time. It lets you know what's going on. Nixon was a fucking psychopath. I think we all kind of know that. And kind of explaining her role, because she kind of inherited this from her father, or technically from her husband who passed away, killed himself. And she kind of inherited this role that she wasn't particularly comfortable with. But by the end of the film, she grew into kind of this game-changing owner of this now up-and-coming newspaper, right? And now, like I said, the Washington Post is a big fucking deal now. And Tom Hanks' character, who's kind of like the editor-in-chief, and kind of how they're walking that fine line between treason and doing their job and informing the American people about what's going on. And obviously, like I said, Nixon was out of his mind, and how the White House kind of fired back and saying, well, this is confidential information. Meanwhile, they're like, well, the American people need to know. So it's kind of the fight for the First Amendment, right? And the whole film was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I loved it to pieces. I thought it was really good. I really, really enjoyed it. I like kind of those
war movies that aren't war movies.
Yeah, kind of not so much setting up the war itself, but setting the world around it, because the world around is equally as important as what's going on the battlefield.
So historical dramas framed around key events.
Yeah, I enjoy that type of stuff. And I like Bridge of Spies too, who Tom Hanks was in as well. Same kind of era, same kind of stuff. It was really good. And if you like that kind of stuff, kind of the more slow moving, but like you said, kind of methodical, explaining to you what's going on, such type of movies, this is a good movie for you. I would definitely recommend it. It is definitely an A on Jacob's list, and definitely check it out.
Good copy. That movie was called The Post.
Yep.
So I saw a trailer for something called The King's Man. And so originally watching this, I was like, this is a blatant ripoff of Kingsman, right? And then at the very end of the trailer, they go to the Kingsman tailor shop. I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? So I did a little bit of digging, and here's what we're getting, right? This is a prequel set in the World War II era, and it establishes how the Kingsmen were established to guard England, the world, that whole ordeal, like how essentially their secret service,
Yeah.
because you can't say secret service because that's government involved,
Yeah.
right? So it establishes how the Kingsman was set up, which I think is really good, because initially I was like, if this is a new Kingsman movie and Taron Egerton's not in it, I'm kind of upset because he's a fucking great actor, right?
Yeah.
This is a prequel, and it has a much more serious, darker tone, which I think will do well for this movie and the kind of setting that it's in. And that being said, we're actually getting 2 more from that franchise. So we're going to get a lot of world building. So we're getting a Kingsman 3, which is the mainline film, and then we're getting something called Statesman. So I know you haven't seen the Kingsman movies, but in Kingsman 2, they come to the U.S., they come to Kentucky, and Channing Tatum is part of the U.S. version of the Kingsman called the Statesman. So we're getting a Channing Tatum spinoff of the British Secret Service Force. And so we're getting a lot of this kind of world building stuff. And I think this franchise will do good in it because there's a lot of charm.
As a whole, because I know you said the new one's kind of taking the darker approach. Is Kingsman a overly serious film, or is it something that's kind of more like lighthearted and fun?
Let me toss this out, because you still have my copy of Kingsman around here somewhere.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So the OG Kingsman was a satire on everything British spy film. So it made fun of James Bond. It made fun of Austin Powers. Any like stereotype or trope or cliche you can imagine, it rips into those, and it makes fun of it while in itself being having a valid plot, having likable characters, and having good action scenes. So it was a kind of self-realizing parody that was in essence still a good spy movie, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, it's like, hey, you have that buddy that's like, yeah, we're all fucking stupid here, and he's the one, he knows he's part of the group, but he's still making fun of the group.
Yeah.
And that's what the OG Kingsman was. And that's that's kind of the charm behind it, because it's like, dude, James Bond is so fucking stupid, but it's like, we're going to do it too. And that was the kind of love behind it. And so that's kind of the tone the main lines take, that there's a good plot, there's a good villain, there's usually tightly knit characters, things of that nature, but the mainline movies have a lot of good jokes, they have a lot of good setup, there's good action scenes, things of that nature. So it's, I'd say it like a Bond light, and I don't mean to discredit Kingsman, but it's somewhere in between Bond and Powers.
Okay.
It's like in that fine in between middle where you could be like, wow, holy shit, that was a phenomenal sequence, and then be laughing your ass off like, a couple minutes later.
Okay.
And that's the mainline films.
Okay.
And like I said, this Kingsman, the OG, is taking this much darker tone and approach, and I think it'll serve it well.
Okay, cool. World War II is an interesting time to put that in, obviously.
I think it makes sense, simply because it's World War II set up, and I don't know, it makes sense to me, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it.
What if it's just that scene from the bar in what's it called, Inglourious Bastards?
Yeah, maybe, right? Well, that's in Germany. I believe they're still in London.
Oh, okay.
In this setting.
Fair
But yeah,
enough.
get around to Kingsman, because I know you'll fucking enjoy that film, man.
Yeah,
I said, I went into that when it came out in theaters 2015, completely blind, and I came out loving it.
Oh, the Lex Sox are losing. Never mind. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm interested. So this is you too.
All right, so we got let me look at these notes. I don't want to mispronounce his name, even though I've seen a bunch of his movies. So Taika Waititi is directing Thor 4.
Yes.
Have you seen the subtitle name for Thor 4?
Yes.
Love and Thunder. Tell me that's not fucking awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So he directed Thor Ragnarok as well, and that's hands down best Thor movie in the lineup.
Yep.
And he directed another movie I also like called What We Do in the Shadows. So it's about these vampires in New Zealand, and it's kind of like a spin on Interview with the Vampire, because it's like a film crew following them, and they're like shenanigans and stuff.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's fucking hilarious if you haven't seen it.
Okay.
Check that out.
Okay.
But I love this director, and I think the way he's taking Thor and that kind of aspect of MCU, and now we're getting kind of this Guardians of the Galaxy involvement in it, like that aspect where there's a serious story, but there's a lot of fucking lighthearted shit right in the middle. I love that approach. I feel like we need more of those Marvel films.
Okay. So you know that Comic-Con is happening right now, right?
Yes, sir. They got a Krusty Krab booth set up. I don't know if you saw that. Like a big Krusty Krab setup.
I did not see that. All right. So with that, it's kind of, I'm gonna wrap this all into one big heavy piece because
the big Phase 4 reveal.
Yeah. So Phase 4 has been revealed. I'm gonna go ahead and get that pulled up for us real quick. I did save it somewhere, I think.
So there's a Doctor Strange movie that's taking a thriller/horror approach,
yes,
which I think is good. We got a lot of his villains are in that supernatural vein of things.
Yeah.
I think that'll serve well. What else we got on?
Okay,
on
so
Phase 4?
we'll do this in order. Okay, so Black Widow's coming out next. We knew that.
Cool.
Right. Now with Phase 4 comes a lot of the Disney Plus series. All right, a lot of these are involved in that. So Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that's going to be a Disney Plus series.
Is that a episodic series?
Yes.
Cool.
The Eternals, which has Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie.
Sold.
Yeah, so me and my wife were talking about it. I'm like, so they're like, how much did the last movie make? Okay, sign me up for the next one, which is basically what's happening here. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So we're finally getting maybe a real life Mandarin for the first time. So that's interesting enough. That's like a middle grade interest in that. Not crazy about it, but not
Too bad we don't have his counterpart.
Yeah. So WandaVision, which is another Disney Plus, which is Scarlet Witch and the Vision, who died. So I don't know. I hope both. No, yeah, Vision died. So we're not gonna get into that. Like you said, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is going to be including Scarlet Witch. She's going to be learning her actual Scarlet Witchness of it all and maybe become overpowered. So there's that. Loki, which is
the Loki series. Yeah, I saw that.
It's going to be a series. It's going to be taking Loki from that time point in Endgame where he takes the time stone disappears, or the space stone disappears. They're going to be going from there.
I love Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
If they ever do a Road to El Dorado like live action, it's got to be Tom Hiddleston and what's his face? Hemsworth.
Owen Wilson.
No, not Owen Wilson.
Wow.
No, the dude who plays Thor.
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth. There's 3 Hemsworths. I would get them fucked up.
Wow.
Tell me they wouldn't make a great Miguel and Tulio.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. This next one is actually animated. It's called What If. So I'm thinking it's going to be an episodic thing where they're going to break down the what ifs and what could have happened.
That's probably my favorite type of filler.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Hawkeye, who I guess this is going to be emphasizing not so much Jeremy Renner Hawkeye, but his daughter. He's going to be training her to become Hawkeye. So there's that. And Thor, Love and Thunder. We talked about that.
Love that name. It's so good.
So you know the premise of this, right?
What is the premise of Love and Thunder?
Well, Natalie Portman's back.
Okay.
And with that comes Lady Thor. That's what the thing is. They literally they handed her Mjolnir during the press conference. They actually physically gave her to she
nice.
Over her head. So Lady Thor is coming, which is awesome, which I don't think we've ever thought we would get there, but we have at this point. And last but not least, the big bombshell that literally everybody lost their fucking mind over, Marvel's Blade. Blade is going to be a part of the MCU.
Cool. You know what's funny? I actually started rewatching the Blade movies about a week or two ago.
Yeah.
So I love Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan as Blade. Let me get it. You know he could do it. He's a bit small.
Yeah,
but he's got the build for it.
But he was already been in the MCU. That's the problem.
So?
Yeah, no, you're right. So with that, this is the ones that they announced. And Feige, being the troll that he is, he's like, I haven't even got a chance to talk about Black Panther 2. I haven't even got a chance to talk about Captain Marvel 2. I haven't had a chance to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He's like, Fantastic Four. Haven't talked about him yet. And he's like, and we haven't even gotten anywhere near the mutants yet.
Well, according to James Gunn, they have the mix for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 picked out.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, and they got all the songs lined up and ready to go. So,
that's important.
What will this be, the 80s or 90s? Well, if it's the 90s, oh, man.
I mean, technically, he could grab whatever he wants because he came to Earth, so they could do kind of whatever they want.
That's true, but they were doing generational, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, yes and no.
Give and take.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun. We should get some more 90s hits. I think that'll be a good throwback.
Yeah. We have fucking Nirvana playing and Groot Beat really emotional. Anyway, not gonna get into that. So the whole phase is being rolled out, and obviously they haven't talked about the next Avengers because it's coming.
Well, they're not. There's speculation that they're not doing some big crazy like Endgame style thing
crossover event yet.
And I'm just looking forward to them kind of expanding everybody's stories and taking some risks with these movies,
especially Doctor Strange. That's probably the most intriguing to me.
And you know me. How many times have I ranted about these cookie cutter Marvel movie formats?
Mm-hmm.
This Doctor Strange thing has got me by the balls. I'm like super interested.
Yeah,
and it's got this kind of Lovecraftian feel to it. I love it, man. I think if they took more risks like this, like with Thor and what might be of Doctor Strange, I think I might be drawn back in.
Absolutely,
take some creative liberties, man.
Yeah, Blade that opens the door for all those that.
Let me get a rom-com horror with Blade. No, don't do that.
No, don't do that. No, don't do that. But yeah, with the Blade, it opens up the doors for all the Marvel horror comics.
Wait, hang on. Wait, I gotta think about this timeline. Wesley Snipes was released in 2015, and the new Blade movie is scheduled for what? 2020, let's just say?
No, probably later.
2021?
Yeah, 2021, 2022 probably. Anyway, so yeah, that's the big phase, the Marvel phase. And if you want Lady Thor, now's your time, folks. It's coming down the pipeline soon enough. Comic-Con, man.
Good copy. STCC, man. It's the place to be.
Yes, sir.
So have you seen the trailer for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
I've seen it in passing. I haven't sat down and actually watched the whole thing.
So do you know the format? Yeah. Of how they're doing this movie?
No.
So the original book is just short stories left and right, right? So the way this movie is set up is these kids go into this creepy-ass house, because of course, and they find the book that this old lady left behind. And so as they read it, the pages fill in and the names fill in as their names. So what they're reading through these stories that we all know, love, and fear, and then they're like, oh, well, Jeremy, this is going to happen to Jeremy, or like this is going to happen to X, Y, and Z, right?
Okay.
And so that's the format. The more they read, the more these things come true. And so these monsters start chasing our cast and crew, and these events start happening to them, which I think is a super interesting approach to take, because it could have very easily been done in the short story format where you got like 15 or 20 minute snippets of this and that.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have made for a good cohesive movie experience, though. But because we kind of have this main cast and crew intertwining all these segregated stories, I think that'll make for some interesting dynamic.
Yeah, but I have one thing. They probably will address it, so I'm not going to go too crazy about it. But if they want the things to stop happening, then stop reading.
Well, once they start, they can't stop. They said in the trailer, once they start reading, even if it's only the first page, there's no stopping it.
Okay.
Or at least they don't know of a way of stopping it.
7 days. Anyway.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Once they open the book and they start reading, then they're fucked.
Well, at least they know what's coming, right? Because they're reading it about themselves, right?
Well, the trailer framed it in such a manner where it didn't happen like immediately. It was like a day or so later where things started getting kind of weird, and they're like, what the fuck?
Okay.
And then one of them puts together, they're like, guys, it's the stories that we read from the book. They're starting to happen.
Okay.
So that's the way this movie is being set up.
Hey, I give them credit for thinking that out.
That's really creative. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I would have been upset if they did the 15-minute snippets, because I think it allows them to be more true to the original stories. But this is interesting. I give them credit.
Okay, I'll say this, and I know it's super early to be talking about a remake, right? If they ever go back and decide to redo this, which I don't know why when you have Guillermo del Toro at the helm of this project, right? If they ever do decide to go back and take this approach, do a miniseries on Netflix.
Goosebump style.
And have different directors and writers come in and take their own spin on these stories.
Yeah.
And we talked about this with like the Twilight Zone setup, blah, 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 this and that. Anyway, I just thought that was super interesting. And I thought that is a fun creative liberty I am willing to welcome into my life.
You're down with that one, huh?
Yeah, I'm down with that.
All right, cool. Moving along. So this is something that I genuinely want your opinion on it. So QT's talking about his next, right? Obviously, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is coming down the pipeline, right?
Yeah, I got my tickets for that.
Yeah, it's going to be done soon enough. It'll be in our hands, so to speak. So speculation about QT's next film. He brought this up. It's not something that's rumored. He brought it up. He's talking about potentially
10 movies that he's done, right?
His 10th movie. He's talking about potentially it being a Star Trek film.
A Star Trek film. Huh?
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was a little weird. Because it's not his.
Whoa, hang on. Whoa. Hold the fuck up. Didn't we talk about he might do a space thing?
We did.
Way like a year or so ago?
Yeah.
Wow. We're too good.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just don't, I'm not upset about him doing the space thing. I just think it's a little weird being not his. If it's a Star Trek thing, it's not his.
Yeah. Tarantino is quite a good writer, and his characters and the dialogue is very purposeful, right?
Yeah.
It just feels to me that Star Trek, you know, granted, you're probably the bigger Trekker here.
I am.
There's no... Where are you going to fit all the fucking blood? It's Star Trek.
This is true.
Here's my thing. I wouldn't be upset if he did a Star Trek film or 5. I don't care. He could do whatever he wants, right? Those are his projects and his endeavors.
Absolutely.
But to make this his 10th and final, that seems almost like a waste to me.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I just think it's a little strange. Because like I said, he brought it up.
You and I predicted that he's going to do 10 mainline Quentin Tarantino originals that he writes, directs, shoots, all that good stuff. You know, the full Tarantino experience. But then he's done shit like From Dusk Till Dawn. He's done things like 4 Rooms, this and that. And I said, well, there's going to be 10 QT originals. And then he's probably going to do side projects where he helps out here, he acts there, he writes here, or he does this and that. And he does these kind of like little one-offs, right?
Yeah.
And so if that's the case and he wants to do a Star Trek film, then make it one of those one-offs. Don't make it the 10th and final QT.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's kind of weird, man.
I agree. But he said it. It was his thing.
I mean, listen, I'm sure if he wants to do it, I'm sure he can blow it out of the park.
Absolutely.
Absolutely no issues there. But it's a matter of now you kind of got to reboot everything, don't you?
Yeah.
Because if you're doing a Tarantino take, you got to set up the universe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Unless he's going to go off of Abrams, which doesn't seem like a...
That idea alone is even kind of brain melting.
Yeah, right? Because now I felt kind of dirty after I said that. And I was like...
Don't get me wrong. Abrams did Star Trek justice, but to put Tarantino's touch on it would be
It's going to be a completely different series.
Yeah, it'd be different.
So if this is what he really wants to do, then by all means, I'm sure we'll support him in the long run. But it just seems kind of like, why not make an original property that he's done, every time before that?
Absolutely. So with that, I'm going to tie it into something else that we saw that was announced at Comic-Con. Star Trek Picard. So this is essentially a continuation of Jean-Luc Picard's story. And they're kind of wrapping it around this particular character that he feels the need to save. And this character seems to be extraordinary in some way. And it ties into some of the Deep Space Nine stuff. So I'm interested. Sign me up. At this point, it looks like Picard's kind of long been retired, kind of just sitting at home on his ranch trying to think of something to do. And this character kind of pulls him back into this world. Looks like it's going to be a CBS, a show. So I'm down because I love Captain Picard. He's my favorite captain in all the Star Trek history. So I don't know if you had an opinion on it, but I love it and I'm looking forward to it.
Good copy. So with things being serialized and being back on the air, HBO is doing a Watchmen series.
Yep.
So we got a Watchmen movie. It's about 3.5 hours long. It's a pretty good movie. It's not terrible by any means, but I don't think it does the comics quite justice.
Okay.
How do you feel about this? Have you seen the trailer at all?
I have not seen the trailer at all. I have heard a lot about this. I think it would allow them to take the detail that they want and expand on it. Because I did see Watchmen. I don't remember very much of it. I'm not going to lie.
Sure.
I think it allows them to kind of, like I said.
Well, because it's been, 15 years since the Watchmen movie? Maybe a little less? You ever take more than 10, less than 15?
More than 10.
Ballpark?
More than 10.
Because that was like 05-ish, wasn't it?
No.
No?
It was like maybe 2008.
Damn, if there was only some way we could check.
But
I think there's been enough time for the Watchmen series to be off the screen for people to kind of show interest in it again. And we always mention that audience fatigue is a very big thing. And I think with Watchmen, it would have been very easily to take that property and ruin it. You got a date for me?
09.
09. Okay, so it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be 11 by the time it starts airing, right?
Yep.
I think it'll do it justice. I think it'll be good. And I think for a series like Watchmen that has so much detail and delicacy poured into it, you kind of need to take the show approach because there's only so much you can cram in a 3.5 hour film.
Yeah, this is true. Do we know if it's gonna be like how many episodes? Do we have any
I have not seen any information on that yet.
Okay.
I think 13 or 12 would be a good run for it though.
Yeah.
12 hours of Watchmen.
The original run and when publication was 12 issues. So
there you go.
12 episodes.
If you could do it in 12 hours, then by all means do it. But don't force the poop out.
True. Especially when you're trying to take a good shit,
Yeah, a good shit comes out naturally.
Absolutely.
Speaking about good shit, let's talk about Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
All right, so Jay and Silent Bob reboot, the red band trailer for this dropped, and it's absolutely fucking fantastic. I'm so ready for this. This is probably one of my more anticipated releases in the next couple months, years, I guess, and I've been looking forward to this quite a bit. I love the red band trailer. It was absolutely hysterical, and I love how the whole thing is parroting Blunt Man and Chronic being rebooted, but essentially this is like a reboot of Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, where they have the same characters. The fucking Affleck's in this fucking thing. I'm excited, and I'm just jazzed about it. How do you feel about it?
Should be fun, man. Kevin Smith is no new name, no amateur in this thing, and I was telling Maddie that he sold off a good chunk of his comic collection and some of his hockey gear to film Clerks 1. And I told her that movie was successful because, one, it was kind of like this weird indie movie with great fucking humor, right?
Yep.
But it was successful because he took good care in writing the dialogue and kind of the way the characters interact with each other. It was genuinely funny in an aspect. And I think Kevin Smith has had his better films and his worst films, especially with those weird Mallrats stuff in between and shit like that. But I'm excited to see him back on screen. Is he still wearing the same baggy-ass coat?
Yes, he is.
He probably looks like a broom in a fucking closet in that thing.
Yes, he does.
But good for him. We'll see, man. Is Davey Muse or not Davey Muse? What the fuck? What's his name? Jason Muse. Is he still on drugs? Do we know? Because when
from last time I heard, he's clean. That's the last time.
Because on Comic Book Man, he was kind of in and out. And he was lapsing, and that was 2015ish, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited, man. I think they got a good pair of brains there.
Yeah.
And I think if they're both on the point of their knives, they'll do it well.
Absolutely. And I just love the fact that Kevin Smith has his own daughter in the film, but it's not playing Silent Bob's daughter, it's playing Jay's daughter. So it's just like, they're like, well, you can't go on this adventure with us because it's going to be too dangerous. And then they pull out switchblades and they're like, holy shit. Like, okay, I guess you're coming along. And it looks like we see some characters from some of the other Jalen Silent Bob Adventures of the previous, like some characters from Dogma. It looks like we saw in the transference of this also.
Good shit.
Yeah.
As long as we get to see the walrus from Tusk, that thing is fucking terrifying.
Yeah. So this is true, but so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think
Good stuff. Let's talk Halloween.
All right, so it was 40 minutes. It wasn't too bad actually.
No.
All right, so we have dates. It has been announced that Halloween is going to get its sequels.
10/31/2020.
Yep. It's going to get its sequels 2020 and 2021.
Back-to-back features, huh?
Yep. The first one's going to be, or the second one, I guess, is going to be called Halloween Kills, which I think is a pretty metal.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, metal.
Halloween Resurrection.
It's better than fucking around with numbers and getting everybody else even more confused. Might as well go with it, right? And the last but not least one is going to be coming out in 21. It's going to be called Halloween Ends, which also is a metal ass name. So I guess.
So we're getting a trifecta of this wave of Danny McBride Halloween films.
Yeah. So apparently, like they said, they wrote it up a treatment. I know originally when they wrote up the first one. The
2018 reboot
whatever
with McBride and the new crew.
Yeah.
There was rumors that they wrote it as a two-parter.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like, well, we don't know yet. Let's see it. And we both have our reservations about whether we want another sequel or not.
Yeah. So we'll see. I guess we'll see the execution on Kills, and then I'm sure we'll like it enough to want to.
I'm
see
just
ends.
curious what they're gonna do. You think they're gonna include Laurie?
Yeah, she's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already confirmed that she's there.
She's in it.
Yeah, she's in it. She's also executive producing it. So
cool.
So Jamie Lee Curtis got her grubby paws all over it, which is fantastic. I think it's the way you're supposed to.
I mean, she's been in probably more of them than aside from Mr. Castle.
Well, Frank Castle was only in 2.
Oh,
he was only in the first one and the new one.
So she's been in.
She was in 1, 2, cameoed in 4, H2O, Resurrection, 2018.
So she's been in 6.
So about half of them.
Yeah, so she's been probably there more than any of the other guys have been there. Directors, writers.
Well, the only one that was close would have been close is Donald Pleasance, but he's dead, so he can't get any more, obviously.
Still though, man. I mean, who better to hand those reins over to, honestly?
Oh, yeah, obviously. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. They had like a you saw what happened last time. The whole guy doing his own spiel. Obviously, no footage yet because I think maybe it just started filming, if anything. So no footage yet, but there was a lot of the B-roll from the previous film. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it.
Can we get a blooper reel for these Halloween movies when you buy it on Blu-ray?
Well, there was bloopers for the Rob Zombie one, but the whole thing was a fucking joke.
So, you fucking beat me too.
Yeah, the whole thing was a fucking joke. So there's that. But oh my god, I was gonna say something, but it totally fucking just slipped my mind.
Think, motherfucker.
Fuck, now I forgot. It's gone.
Thunder in the background.
Yeah, it's gone. Anyway, so looking forward to this. It's actually that's what I was gonna bring up. It's actually coming out in October, which is fucking dope. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. How we're like, well, we want these horror movies to come out in
October.
Speaking of horror movies, this is not in the agenda.
I got one too. So you go first.
No, you go first.
All right. So me and Maddie watched Hereditary last night.
Okay.
This is you've probably heard about it. People are ranting and raving about this film. This is a horror thriller, psychological horror, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And we sat down, watched it last night, and let me tell you this: this is the first original horror movie property that had me terrified, like petrified, really. And this is the first time I was like, dude, let me explain the setup of this film. There's absolutely no jump scares. Not one of them. One of them's close. It's not quite a jump scare because the woman sees a ghost of her grandma, when she passes away. But it's not anything like, she's just like an image of her in the corner. There are no jump scares in this movie. That being said, this movie is interesting to the point where you want to keep your eyes on the screen, but the way these shots are framed makes the house look like a fucking dollhouse, and you'll see that illusion as to why later if you actually get around to it.
Okay.
And just the fucking petrifying amounts of shit that goes on screen. You want to look away so bad, but it's so interesting that you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like there's a scene, I don't want to give away too much, but there's a scene where somebody's talking on screen and they're kind of going through what's happening, and then you see somebody else in the background and you just get the chills and you're like, oh, fuck, man. It's not good, Shaggy. It's not fucking good, Shaggy.
Okay.
Yeah, sit down and watch that because Fuck, dude, it was really proper. Like I said, there's no cheap scares. There's no like bullshit. It's you watch and it just like avalanches in your fucking gut, that fear, because you're like, oh my god, something's about to fucking go down.
I might have to check this out.
It's like a no bullshit legit horror movie, and it has a very interesting premise, and it wraps up the story in an interesting way. And there's a decent amount of I wouldn't call it gore, but it's kind of like disgusting effects and things of that nature. Okay,
cool. Because like, you know, like there's only one other movie I could think about that's like an original IP that, where like kind of explaining what you said, where you're like, well, you want to look away because you're terrified, but you just can't stop it. That was like Sinister. Those like tapes where you're like, this is fucking horrible, but you have to watch every second of it.
Well, the thing with Sinister is that some of them did have jump scares, like the red demon behind that was a terrifying fucking jump scare.
Yeah.
But like I said, this doesn't even resort to that. It doesn't even need it.
Interesting.
And that's a welcoming jump scare in Sinister.
Yeah.
Because it's so obviously placed, and it's not like jump in front of the screen and crank up that volume knob to 11. But this is like one of those where you're like, holy shit. Like you feel it building up in your gut.
Fair enough. Okay.
So check out Hereditary.
Hereditary?
Yeah.
I'm going to check that out.
And then keep that title in your mind, because there's some it's an important thing.
Okay.
A theme in the movie.
Okay, fair enough. Another trailer came out for It.
I totally forgot to mention that. What did you think?
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's fucking awesome.
Here's my thing.
Okay, here we go.
Bill Skarsgård is fucking phenomenal. The entire Skarsgård family is beautiful and talented, okay? There's just no way around that. He'd make a phenomenal Joker. I want to throw that out there. The trailer is really good, because we saw the transition from kids to adults in the 27 years that passed, and one of them stayed behind. The black kid stayed behind, and it's faithful to the original, where I stayed here. I need to find out what's fucking going on with this clown with the spirit, blah blah blah. What'd you think of this trailer? Because I'm sold, man. I've been excited for this movie since the first trailer.
It's really good. I like when they go into the funhouse and there's just fucking clowns.
And the mirrors.
Well, that and there's just fucking clowns everywhere, like swinging back and forth, and you're like, one of these motherfuckers is gonna be him. I know it. And the mirrors where he's trying to prevent the kid from getting fucking swallowed up. And that whole thing with the whole tongue is just fucking disturbing.
Terrifying. I think because there's some things Tim Curry did right, but there's a lot of things that Bill Skarsgård did right. I think the facial expressions that he makes for this clown are fucking terrifying. Mm-hmm. And he really uses that facial animation, especially in these trailers. I was like, wow, he is going like balls to the wall with like the eyebrows, the tongue, the teeth, like the droopiness of the eyes, and just the way everything's positioned. He's doing a really phenomenal job with that.
Indeed.
And did you know that Bill Skarsgård, after the first It movie screened, he said that he had to like detox his system because like the clown would come back around every once in a while? Did you read that article?
No.
He was so into like method acting, Pennywise the Clown, that he thought of it as like a disease. He's like, I couldn't shake it for a while after the movie, so he had to like detox his body of all that.
Did he like find himself like making faces and shit? Is that what?
Because he has that he does that 1,000-yard stare really well. And he said he like caught himself doing that shit a couple times,
like random people,
and then he would do like the clown, the hoo-hoo, and he's like, I had to get away from that for a little bit, and I was like, that's fucking terrifying.
That's pretty metal.
Right. So Bill Skarsgård, dedicated, man. I'm excited for this.
Okay, yeah,
I'm really excited for this.
Sign me up. I'm on board too, Gabe.
Have you seen the first one?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, and all the bits and pieces that I saw, I really enjoyed. Yeah. But the wife is afraid of clowns, and I'm not sitting in the room by myself watching it.
I actually had, for the first time in fucking years, I had a nightmare after that movie.
Oh yeah,
I was like sleep paralysis type of shit. I couldn't move, but I was like awake.
Oh, got you. Huh?
So it's not. I wouldn't say the movie is petrifying or scary, but it's simply the fact that the more you believe in him, the more power he has.
Like he infiltrates you personally.
Yeah, well, it's like the whole Freddy setup, but I think adding the clown on top of that Freddy basis is terrifying.
Pretty good.
So yeah, man, check that out. I'm super excited for this. It comes out like a week before my birthday, so I'm gonna fucking go.
September is gonna be a real thing, man. I'm excited.
Good stuff. Let's talk some gaming. Before we get into Luigi's Mansion, I want to say that they're coming out with a new version of the Switch. So for all those people considering it, wait a little bit. This new version, the only difference is that, and we're not talking about the Switch Lite. There's a new version of the base Switch.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, we talked
better
about
battery life. So it takes it from, I believe the OG had an estimate from 2.5 to 7 hours, depending on what game you're playing. So like Breath of the Wild is going to take you down to 2.5. This new version of the Switch, the baseline is 3.5 to 9 hours. So that's you get a whole hour jump. That's a big difference there.
Okay, cool.
So for all you people considering it, wait a couple months, and it's an XKA SKU, I believe, that they start with the serial numbers.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. What do you think about the Switch so far?
I think it's cool. I love that you love it.
I gotta tell you, man. Can I talk some Breath of the Wild with you real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So I mentioned this week I was so fucking frustrated.
This is week 2 of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
man. This is my deep dive. This is like worse than heroin for me because I find myself that this is the only game I want to play at the moment, and I think. When you pick up a game, you're like, yeah, I want to play it because, I just bought it. I want to justify the money I spent, blah, blah. It's interesting. It's new. But I don't think I've ever had a game reel me in this hard before, or at least not recently anytime, because when I say I want to play the game, Maddie thinks I want to go on and play Siege or Call of Duty or something. Like, no, I want to play fucking Breath of the Wild because this game has me by the fucking balls, bro. I mentioned to you that I was going through some swamplands and whatever, right? And I had full metal plate armor on, and I had like a metal broadsword equipped, and fucking lightning struck me, and I died on the spot. I was so fucking upset because that shit conducts electricity.
It's so beautifully random. You're just like...
It's so grotesquely random. Yeah. It's almost hilarious.
So you're just like...
I didn't know what happened at first. I was like, what the fuck? And then it happened again, and I was like, motherfucker.
You know what that reminds me of? And this is totally unrelated. I don't mean to derail your train of thought.
Go ahead.
But do you remember from Final Fantasy X...
I already know where you're going.
Where you had to dodge lightning like 150 times or something like that.
Yep.
And you had to time it like perfectly to get, I forgot, maybe like a magical item or something like that.
I think it was a spell.
Yeah, something that was like really overpowered to help you get through like the next boss. Either you're going to fucking sweat for hours while you're trying to fight, or you're going to have the spell to make the whole thing a whole lot easier. And you had to wait for lightning to strike like 150 times. I think they said like 3 in-game hours or something like that, where you had to fucking just time this flash so you could fucking dodge it. And that just reminded me of, I'm sorry.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
A couple of other really cool, small, nitpicky, detailed things. You have a heat gauge or internal temperature gauge. So when Link gets cold, he starts, and you lose health, right? And same thing when he gets overly hot, you start losing hydration and you start losing hearts. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have proper armor or food or potions, things of that nature, you're going to go down quick. There's just no way around it, right? So what I found was that if you equip, I have like an ice sword. So when I'm in the desert and I have the ice sword equipped, it cools down my internal body temperature. How fucking cool is that?
That's very, very clever.
And it also works the other way around. So if you're on top of like a mountain peak and you equip a fire sword, it'll warm you up. That's fucking stupid detail that doesn't need to be there that I love.
That's clever.
That being said, I cleared one of the 4 major bosses, the 4 divine beasts, because you got to free them to stop Ganon. And this one was kind of like this elephant setup. So the first stage of the boss battle consisted of you riding this fish dude, and he like trails you around in the ocean, running around this giant mechanical elephant, right? Because that's one of the divine beasts.
Yeah.
And so you gotta shoot up one of the waterfalls he's projecting, and you gotta shoot these like orbs with your arrows, right? But the whole time he's shooting like ice cubes at you, and he's shooting like these ice projectiles. And you gotta knock him out of the way. So that was phenomenal. And once you get those orbs hit, you go inside the elephant, and it's a giant fucking puzzle room. Like a 5-stage puzzle you got to figure out to reactivate him and make him good again. And I spent, I don't know, like 3 hours on it. I was like, holy shit.
So what, I mean, I'm not going to include Dark Souls because I think Dark Souls would probably be on your list. What is the most difficult boss fight you remember having in gaming?
In gaming? Yeah. Oh, man. I got to think about that. Dark Souls would probably be my first jump, but that's a good question. I'd probably have to go through my catalog and kind of peer around. There's a couple of the Devil May Cry bosses that I remember. Because the issue here is that a lot of these games, like Resident Evil, has a tough tyrant boss fight at the end of Leon's story. The issue is what difficulty you play it on. Because if you play it on max difficulty, of course, it's going to be stupid hard. Yeah. But like a game like Dark Souls or Breath of the Wild, it doesn't have a difficulty, so it's hard by nature. Yeah. You got to learn to overcome that. You know what I'm saying? I kind of have to think about that a little bit. I'd say the final fight from the first Knights of the Old Republic was pretty difficult if you weren't prepared for it. Because the fucking baddie's just OP, and if you don't skill your character properly, or if you don't spend enough time kind of thinking about it, he's gonna whomp you real good. Yeah. Yeah, dude, I got to think about that because I'd say Breath of the Wild and Dark Souls are kind of in the same vein here, where there's no difficulty, there's no like bullet sponginess. It's like you know it or you don't. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing.
Gotta know the dance, huh?
You got to know the dance. It's precisely. Okay. But yeah, dude, Breath of the Wild, man. I'll bring it over one day and you can just watch me fucking play because this thing's tantalizing.
You've been saying that, but you just keep not bringing it over.
I got you next week.
Keep breaking my heart.
But yeah, dude, I'm going to give the podcast an update when I finish it up because this thing is gearing up to be like top 3 for me, honestly. Ooh, this thing is... Okay. I'm telling you, man, I'm going to go home and play some Breath of the Wild.
What other Zelda have you played prior to this? Have you played all of them?
I played Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess. I haven't done as deep of a dive as I have on this one, though.
Okay.
Because it's always like, I didn't own a GameCube, so it was always kind of like, oh, let's play some Zelda and this and that. And it always kind of piqued my interest. But this is the first time that I own a mainline Zelda game. Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's a true statement.
Cool. All right. Excellent. All right.
So, yeah, dude. So grossly tantalizing. Talk to me about Luigi's Mansion.
I forgot why I put it on here. I'm not gonna lie.
You put it on here because you want to get it.
I do want to get it. So we've talked about this in the past. Luigi Mansion, I think, is going to be the game that finally puts me over the top. That's what I think they announced the date for it. Let me pull up the date.
It's October, right?
Yeah, in October at some point. Which again, spooky. Damn them. So yeah,
Luigi's Mansion 3 is going to be more terrifying than some of the horror movies coming out this year.
I'm probably going to jump a handful of times. Yeah, and it's not going to be because the image itself is scary. I think just they're going to do a really good job of building tension because that's what Luigi Mansion does. It's done that historically, and it's going to do it again.
Yeah, man, we got some good stuff coming out. For this
why
Switch.
doesn't Luigi have his own obviously this is his thing, right? This is Luigi's thing, but I like Luigi. How come we can't give him more love in the Mario franchise? Because he's always kind of second fiddle. I don't like that.
I don't know, man. Don't look at me. I remember in Yoshi's Island 2 that I still have my original Game Boy copy of.
Okay.
He jumps higher.
Yeah?
Yeah, I thought it was a cool little tidbit.
Huh.
But he jumps much higher than Mario does in that game.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I always enjoyed Luigi. I always played as Luigi, probably because he jumps higher. But
all these characters wrapped up in the Mario lore outside of Mario, because Mario's pretty one-dimensional. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of characters that are involved that are like really interesting.
I particularly like Shy Guy and Dry Bones. I think those guys are interesting.
Yeah, Rosalina was really cool. There's actually, there's a character that everybody. No, the theory is that Rosalina is actually Mario's and Peach's kid from a different like
timeline.
Timeline or whatever. But there's actually a video on the internet that is breaking down that, and it's actually Luigi's and Peach's kid because of like eye color or something like that. Like they break it down like that.
Listen, man, I found a video online that links the OG Willy Wonka film and how Snowpiercer is a sequel to that film. So if you can find your stuff and I can find my stuff, that means you can find anything out there. All right. It's actually a really well done video.
I'm sure it is.
No, it's like scarily well done. And it explains everything. Every fucking loose end is tied up in that video. It's ridiculous. Have you seen? I'm sure you've seen the original Willy Wonka.
Yeah, it's one of
Have
my
you seen
favorite films.
Snowpiercer?
No.
No? Okay. Well, you got to watch Snowpiercer, and then we can get into that debate. That being said, Luigi's Mansion coming out in October should be fun.
You getting it?
Well,
yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yes, maybe not immediately because
Okay.
we got kind of a hefty September, October there. We got a lot of shit coming out, and that includes the Zelda game, that includes Borderlands, that includes a lot of titles. So I might have to pick and choose.
And that's just games. Let's talk about like the movies and stuff. We just kind of went through a whole bunch of them that are just like, ooh.
Yeah. Maybe we should do an episode dedicated to what's coming out in September, and we could have Earth, Wind, and Fire playing in the background. See what I did there?
Ashamed of yourself.
You know, a buddy of mine sent me. He sent me an Earth, Wind, Fire song. He's like, "Hey man, this shit smacks," and I was like, "This is like one of my favorite bands, right?" Anyway, we're bringing back podcast games this week, and I thought this was pretty funny. So this one's called You Know You're Old When, and so it's pretty much what it sounds like. And the thing that brought this up for me was I was thinking to myself, because I was looking at my 401k, I was like, you're old when you see your 401k go and you're super excited about it. Like you see its growth.
Yeah.
You got any off the top of your head? You're old when you sit down and you make grunting noises or stand up and make grunting noises.
Well, I've been doing that since I was 16, so I can't really talk about that. When you're old, when that little girl from that movie suddenly makes you pop a boner.
Whoa.
No, like when she's like now, like currently.
Yeah, FBI, this comment right here. You're old when you look up the age of Ryan Key and he's 39 years old.
Shut the fuck up.
Nope,
No,
he's 39 years old. 1979. I didn't believe it.
Boy, you a liar.
No, I'm being dead fucking serious. He's 39 years old. He will be 40 in December 17th. Look it up, bro. Jake's about to have a fucking midlife crisis right here. Ryan Key from Yellow Card was born December 17th, 1979.
Shut the fuck up. No,
he's currently
not.
39 years of age.
Shut up.
Look it up.
You changed this. Who edited this?
Look it up.
I just did.
And what does it say? Read it out loud.
December 17th, 1979.
Yeah, so he's 39 years old.
Shut the fuck up. That's not
That's
real.
weird.
I mean, this is not old, but you know how fast time is going by because it's been 2 years since Chester Bennington passed away.
Oof, that's rough, man.
That was yesterday. It's 2 years. Oh, I can't believe it.
Ooh, holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, think about that. Holy shit. So that's
You know you're old when some of your favorite albums start turning 10.
Yeah, I've seen some of those countdowns.
Hang on, I gotta go. You know you're old when you remember when Mike had that tooth missing from the Daoboys product.
Shit, you remember you're old when Mike used to have short hair.
Yeah. Well, he cut his hair recently.
Did he?
Donated it. Yeah. It's still not like what he had when the Zombies EP came out, when he was probably at his cleanest. But yeah, it's a bit shorter now.
Cleanest, he said.
I mean, have you seen him?
You know you're old when you remember when Sean from Vanna sold his mustache. He sold it. He put it in a fucking block. And
yeah, you told me about this actually.
I wanted it. I wanted it.
Shit, dude. In a couple years, the thing will be you'll know you're old when when you remember Davy Muse from Trove originally being in Vanna.
Shut up. Shut up. I gotta get into that. But
yeah, you know you're old when Vanna's been gone for 2 years. Oh.
In August, right? Probably.
Yeah, in August. That show was 2 years ago, August.
Holy shit.
Yeah, man. Time's going by way too fast.
I don't like it.
You know you're old when you're approaching 30.
You know you're old when you remember when Bring Me the Horizon was a metalcore band. We're not gonna get into that.
Deathcore band.
Deathcore band.
Deathcore.
So speaking of which, because
hang on. But before we dive into that, could you imagine like a girl walking around in like a Bring Me the Horizon like hoodie, and like like she knows like Amo and a little bit off of That's the Spirit, and then you start playing like. You tell Slater not to wash his dick or pray for plagues, and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
It's like, this is the same fucking band.
Yeah, you fucking moron.
So go ahead, bring up what you were gonna bring up.
Well, this is gonna move us into
music.
Dude.
Music news and reviews.
Yeah,
that's what he was waiting
for.
So
earlier this week, fucking Gabe was like, "Man, he still has it.
He still got it, man."
I'm like, "Still has what? Tattoos? Because that's the only thing he still has."
Well, he doesn't even have those. He got one of his arms covered up in all black.
Did he get a tattoo on his face? Is that a real thing?
He's had a tattoo on his face for a while.
Stupid.
I think he's added to it, but he's definitely had them before.
It's fucking dumb. Anyway, he's like, he still got the vocals. I'm like, no, he don't. He played. And Gabe said it. He insists that I am butthurt, but he was never ever a really good live vocalist. Like, never.
Okay. Here's the thing.
Okay, here we go.
He was. You're right. He's not a crazy phenomenal vocalist. That being said, he did have like 2 or 3 throat surgeries in between that Sempiternal and That's the Spirit era, right? Yeah. So we assume that he moved into That's the Spirit style because he couldn't scream anymore.
Which is ironic because it's not like he went like crazy hard on...
Right, but I mean, at that point, they've been doing this for, 12, 13 years? Yeah, so I'm sure you have a slip up here and there, that shit's not going to go easy, especially if you're doing an hour-long set or, they do like 2-hour-long sets pretty often, right?
Yeah.
And so my thing was, he could still do the deathcore screams, and we haven't seen that done for a while now.
Which, by the way, he can't. It sounds bad. I'm not going to get into that, though.
Regardless, I'm saying that he's still physically able is the thing I'm getting at, because... that was our whole thing. Well, he can't scream anymore, and that's why he did, That's the Spirit and all that good stuff.
Oh, I actually forgot to mention this last week. In kind of the same vein, because we talked about the U's and how we saw them. This dude has breath spray in between every single like chorus. Bert has pepper. I was gonna say pepper spray. He has vocal spray in his hand the whole entire set. And anytime there's a break, straight down his throat because
it's not that CBD spray.
No, it's because he can't scream. He doesn't scream anymore. He stopped screaming like 5-10 years ago at this point because he can't do it. His voice is fucked. And like now, like you could see his singing voice is fucking starting to struggle a little bit. He sounded good, but like you could tell that he was like every time.
Take care of your chords, kids. Take care of your chords. Well, at least he made the most out of it with that like insane cackle of his.
This is true. He had a nice long run with it, but fuck.
All right, let's talk Northlane because you've been digging this.
Yeah. So have you listened to this at all?
No, not yet. So this is actually, I think, the first time we've ever mentioned Northlane on this podcast, which is kind of a shame.
We've mentioned them in passing, but never we've never done like a review or anything like that.
Okay, so Jacob's finally on the boat. I am boarding the boat.
Well, I've liked Northlane for a long time, but I just never, like I said, it's never something that we've talked about. I really liked their first album with their original vocalist, and everything after that's been good, but nothing crazy over the top. They've kind of hit their ceiling. I thought, they're not going to get any better than this, but they're okay. They're good. They're a good band. With that being said, they have a new album called out. It's called Alien, which is metal. I love that. And they released 3 singles so far. One they released last year was called Vultures, which I enjoyed. I think I might have mentioned it.
Yeah, you definitely mentioned Vultures.
I think I've mentioned it on the pod. It was a good song. But they have subsequently released 2 songs after that, one called Bloodlines, the other one called Talking Heads. And I mentioned this to Gabe earlier in the week. I think my ears starting to turn around a little bit because there's some other bands that I got on this agenda here that I'm just like, I literally just was talking shit about how.
I just saw that you put this album on here that I did a review of 2 months ago when it came out.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Was it Dealer?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess you did a review of that. All right.
I have my notes saved so we can compare with those. But Northlane, man, I know the internet loves Northlane, and by all means you should.
Yeah,
right?
They're good.
I just think it's kind of a shame that we're kind of late to the party a little bit,
As far as bringing it up, yeah.
Because we've been kind of, I don't want to say closed off in our own circle, but we've been kind of dealing with a lot of the bands we're already familiar with.
Yeah. So this is, like I said, just based off the singles that we've gotten so far, this is something that's incredibly interesting to me. Now, Gabe's going to listen to some of these songs. He's going to be like, man, you give Motionless in White shit for trying this band. This band is different in some regards because of maybe because they lack the gimmick.
Sure.
They're not
gimmicks are important.
Yeah, they lack the gimmick that Motionless in White has. Also, if you take this, this is the way I would describe it to you, Gabe. This is like taking some of what's it called? Architects.
Mm-hmm.
You mix it with a little bit of Strangers Only, My Ticket Home, and you get this. Little bit of some of the industrial
little
stuff.
bit of math grind, a little bit of insanity.
Yeah.
Sprinkle it with some tasty riffs.
So this is something that's going to be very, very good. I'm going to keep my eye on it because, like I said, the first 3 songs I've really enjoyed. I think it's coming out in August or like early September or something like that. So I'm looking forward to it. And
good stuff.
Yeah, they're going to be really, really good.
Quick little note: Knocked Loose. I mentioned it to you earlier.
You did.
They're coming out with their album soon. We're gearing up towards that. They're doing a little mini tour of very small venues in celebration of the album release.
Are they coming here?
They're coming to Moline, Illinois. It's about a 2-hour drive.
Where are they playing?
What's up?
Where are they playing in Moline?
The Blackhawks room.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So that's going to be nice and dirty. And I told you that, Knocked Loose can easily do shows. They could easily sell at the Bottom Lounge. They're playing the House of Blues later in the year, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's nothing but love back to the hardcore scene by them doing a slew of these small venues. And hats off to them, man.
Yeah.
Hats off to Brian. Hats off to Isaac and all those guys, because I'm sure those things aren't generating the same amount of revenue as something like the House of Blues or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's simply because they love the art.
Yeah.
And that's respectable.
For sure. So that's good stuff. And glad that they're doing
So I got an album review. This album didn't drop this week. I think it dropped like a couple weeks ago. And I just realized that this name is a play on the Dallas Cowboys. So it's Callous Daoboys is the name of the band, right? And so this is one of those, I didn't take notes on this because I think that'd be super counterintuitive. What are you staring at?
Can you go again with the name?
Callous Daoboys.
All right, guys. That was the Sucker City Kids podcast. I'll see you guys next week. No, go ahead. Sorry.
So, yeah, I just realized it never clicked until I said it out loud. It's goofy, ain't it? Okay, let me describe you the kind of music they make. They make if the Dillinger Escape Plan and Every Time I Die had a kid and that kid just did rails of coke all night long. This is full frontal aggression at its purest form. Yeah, maybe. I like their style, man. I like this sort of chaotic nature to it. It's in the vein of that East Coast sound, though. So if you like that, yeah, I'm gonna see those guys at Reggie's too. That's gonna be grimy.
I played Reggie's.
What's up?
I've played Reggie's.
Awesome. You and like everybody else in Chicago.
This is true. Have you?
No, not yet.
Then shut up. Moving along.
Yeah, they have this kind of violent swing to them, and it's very attractive in its nature, if that makes sense. It's kind of I should have wrote notes. I just realized I should have fucking taken notes.
He's like, I'm not going to do notes. But then
no, but it's like you put this shit on when you want to kick down drywall, and I appreciate it. I don't know if it's up your vein because you like your kind of planned out stuff, but this shit seems like they went into the studio and they said, yeah, let's go. The whole album right fucking now. Let's go right now.
He said planned out.
Well, I'm just saying. Some of us like the traditional style. Others just go into the studio and say, fuck it. Play record. We're doing the whole album right now.
All right.
We're on 4 hours of sleep. Let's go.
Fair enough.
I'd say check it out. Even if you don't like it, I think it's it's so funny, isn't it?
Oh my god!
Check it out. Even if you like it in passing, I think you'll pick up a couple of interesting things that they're doing. They have a violinist, which is pretty fucking rad for essentially a mathcore band at the end of the day. Like I said, if you like Dillinger, if you like Every Time I Die, check this band out. They're in the same vein. Not the same vein as the same vein as Dillinger and Every Time I Die.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, that was kind of my quick little review on that.
Now I'm gonna give them credit because they have built-in merchandise. Like all they got to do is parody.
They have a line in one of their songs where they like slow it down and they're like, "Yeah, we're probably gonna call it quits by 2028, and buy our merch so we can eat." And I think it's fucking hilarious.
Fair enough. All right. So
So you finally got around to listening to some new fucking music.
Yeah. So Dealer, Slowburn, listen to it. Well,
what'd you think? First and foremost.
I didn't remember you actually bringing it up, but it struck me that you might have when you mentioned it yesterday because I had a conversation how I'm converting some of my friends into deathcore, and we didn't talk about how we shouldn't change people's lives.
I gave this album an 8.
You give it an 8,
and I believe I don't have the full review on here because I don't believe I saved the full reviews. I saved the
ratings.
The ratings. I think it was something along the lines of these guys are masters of where to put a breakdown at because it's not your traditional setup. It's like that low-high mix-up in MK where you think they're going to go one way, but they take you a completely different way, and you miss that block, and you're in the breakdown.
Well, to be fair, like I said, now that you mentioned it, I do recall you bringing this band up. But what helped me kind of discover them was Jared Dines did a video of Sickest Breakdowns, and they were on it. And
Which
I'm like,
song?
Crooked.
Nice.
So I'm like, okay. So I looked them up, and there was actually another band that I brought up, which is just unnecessarily heavy, which I'll show you in a minute. So I give this a look, and I like it. It's good stuff. It's intense. It'll get you pumped. It'll get you ready to go. Now it's maybe not the most poetic of bands, but
you don't need to be poetic in the metal scene always.
This is true, and it's definitely violent. And if you're into some violent, heavy shit, I think this is a band to look forward to. They're young, from what I can understand. I know they're part of the Stay Sick family, which makes me kind of throw up a little bit. But
that label's growing, man. Say what you want about Attila, but that label's treating its bands right.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, I'm looking forward to them because this is an EP, so it doesn't really qualify as album,
quote unquote.
Yeah.
We've had some debate about that, about the what was it, our rankings of the year.
Yeah.
That being said, these guys really kind of break the framework of how you should frame or pose a song. And they just take it and throw it out the window. They said, we're doing this our fucking way. And if that in itself is not poetic, just the way they write their shit and the way they play it, I don't know what is.
Okay. So, yeah, I enjoy it. It was good stuff. And if you like kind of that faster, violent music, this is for you. So, before we do the retro review, we're going to get around to that at the end. Fit for an Autopsy.
Make America Hate Again? You talking about that?
That is Thy Art is Murder. How dare
you. Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
All right, new co-host next week.
Yeah. Fit for an Autopsy released a new song. I think it was yesterday or today, like relatively recently. It's called Mirrors, and their new album, which I didn't even know they were working on one.
I thought they were done.
No. They'll be sticking around for a little bit. The new album's called The Sea of the Tragic Beast, which is a fucking
metal ass name.
The most metal name of all time. Like I said, the new song's called Mirrors. It is fucking dope. But the thing I wanted to bring up to you the most is this artwork, and I'm gonna show it to you real quick because it's fucking sick, and I think you'd like it quite a bit. Just to kind
love me some good album artwork.
Let me see if I can find it for you. Where'd it go? I might get some of this merch too because it's pretty good looking. There we go.
What are we looking at? Yeah, it's pretty fucking brutal.
Yeah. So the new artwork is pretty sick. They looks like they got some tour dates announced too. They're coming to the Cobra Lounge in November 21.
We got Bury Your Dead with Upon a Burning Body and Great American Ghost coming around to the Cobra Lounge.
Yeah, man, I noticed that too.
I'm gonna go for Great American Ghost.
Yeah,
because I've been meaning to catch them for a while.
Yep, and they got some good looking vinyls. Let me show you this real quick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, those are really good looking.
Yeah, there's a blue splattered. I like that quite a bit.
Some of these bands take that and blow it way out of proportion. Like the Architects have like 12 variants per album. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Those are nice and simple. I like those.
Yeah. So,
what'd you think of the single first and foremost?
It was fucking awesome, dude. Shit. I mean, we know Fit for an Autopsy is gonna be dope just because we're not gonna get into that. But it's good stuff and it's really heavy, really brutal. This is, I think, slowly. Like I said, I was just talking shit about this year how it needs to step up its game. This might be the year of deathcore for me because we got Thy Art is Murder coming out with their new shit. Fit for an Autopsy. Just listen to that new thing. Northlane's is kind of in the sort of more
elements.
Yeah, more metally than anything else, but has its elements. It's gonna be a good year. I think it's starting to turn around for me, so I'm excited.
We got a couple more things to look forward to. You want to talk about this Devil Wears Prada album because I mentioned it briefly. We haven't heard a goddamn thing out of them.
Radio silence,
and I don't think they're breaking up. They're just two balls deep into this whole setup to break up now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
So my original prediction was that both Every Time I Die and The Devil Wears Prada are going to drop albums this year. I don't know about Every Time I Die because they could sure as shit drop an album next week and people are going to love it, right? Because they're just balls, they're crazy like that.
This is true.
Well, what do you think about this whole Devil Wears Prada setup, man? Because not a single radio silence from Mike, radio silence from the band pages and stuff.
Well, they do that. They get pretty quiet before they start releasing stuff.
I mean, I know they're not super like into the whole social media thing, which I totally understand. But like not even a word, not even like, hey, in the studio.
Do you know what's funny about that though? How they're not like internet. I don't want to say internet savvy because that's definitely not the word. But how they're not like the biggest presence, like you may have said. Mm-hmm. They had songs like called like HTML rules, dude, and shit like that, where they're like making fun of like that type of stuff. But like meanwhile, they're not really like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, I was predicting like a late fall release. I was thinking like November-ish because that just seems like an ideal time for a Devil Wears Prada fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know because you said what you told me was they don't need that much hype because they have a very strong following, which is true, but they still need to sell, which is important. I think they signed with a new label too recently, right? Or am I thinking of a different band?
I think they went back with Rise, I thought. Because they were off Rise. They were with Roadrunner for a little bit, and then I think they got back with Rise. That's what I thought. I can't remember.
But yeah, I just kind of think it's funny because every time I die, at least they're like, hey, we're fucking touring. We can't be in the studio.
Yeah, sure enough.
Well, it hasn't stopped Keith before with the damn things. But
yeah.
That being said, you think we're going to go in this year? Do you think we're going to start hearing stuff around August?
Maybe a single.
I mean,
the last album was all right. Transit Blues was okay.
It was a good album. Yeah. I think I'd definitely put that above 818. And I definitely put that above Discord.
Okay. That's acceptable.
Yeah.
I take that.
I mean, it was a very mature album. It's not, it's not fucking Sassafras or Plagues or anything like that. But that being said, it was a very well-written album. The production was beautiful. They do a great fucking job at that every single album, right? Mm-hmm. They don't fuck around with the production. And it was, in every essence of the word, you took a metalcore band from the early 2000s, and you have them go through life, and this is what you get. And I appreciate that. And, maybe not every single song off there is a banger, but Detroit Tapes is wonderful. Key of Evergreen is a fucking phenomenal, experience.
Worldwide.
Worldwide is a banger. That's just...
Daughter's a banger, too. I'm going to fuck with anybody says that.
But I'm just saying, as an album, it was a good experience. I don't think it was a bad album by any means.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Like I said, they always get pretty quiet before these things. And next thing you know, they're like, "Oh, look at her! Here's all our merch.
Here's 85 shirts pre-order. We brought back the Reptar shirt. Oh man, you know how fast I fucking buy that thing?
Yeah. So don't make fun of it. Don't knock it until you.
No,
try
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I'd fucking buy that if they ever brought it back.
True enough. So yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking maybe single in October, release in February.
I think that's a fair setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know they've been selling off their stuff, like some of their backdrops and.
Yeah. That's what when you brought that up, that's what kind of started to scare me a little bit. Is when they started to sell off merchandise or stuff that they use. That stuff scares me.
I understand the guitar stuff and the instrumentals because August Burns Red sold off a couple of other guitars and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure if you're touring for 15 years, you accumulate just shit that you don't use anymore, and
Yep. Speaking of which, I know we got the thing, but I know Silverstein came out with the thing.
With the thing?
They came out with a single, which means new Silverstein's coming out soon.
Cool.
So that should be a kind of a mid-level good album.
Oh my god, I thought you were about to say Midlife Crisis. For us, for them, yes. Why not both?
I mean, it could be.
Yeah, right?
We don't know when we're dying.
Good stuff. Silverstein's fun.
Yep, absolutely. So
let's get into it.
So yeah, Gabe's. This is Gabe's thing. So
all right, so we're doing retro reviews for albums, and we've done this for 3 months now, give or take.
Yeah, just about
a couple of episodes, a couple dozen episodes, maybe a dozen episodes. So I said, let's do something a little bit different. We're still doing a retro review, but I told you, let's do a retro review on the album that got us into the scene. And I told you to narrow it down to one, and I got my one, and I don't know if you know what it is, but you can go first. I want you to talk about it. Did you, first and foremost, what is the album, and did you re-listen to it?
Dude, so when Gabe brought this up, I'm like, I've been doing this a long time, Gabe.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's really hard
but there's got to be something that stood out to you that you're like, this is probably one of the first pieces I've heard, or this is the first metal-ish album that I've been invested into.
I don't know, because it's so young.
So you have nothing?
Well, I've thought of a few.
Okay.
All right. I didn't get a chance to full-blown listen to these things, but a few of them came to mind. And I think maybe I'll give you more of a list and less of a review, more of a list.
More of an overview? Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Of kind of the albums that really kind of got me excited into this genre of music. So The Curse, Atreyu. That's a
Nice.
big one, right? It's
What was it that was attractive about that album?
I
for
just
you?
love the guitar work. Those guys are so slick on their guitars. Both of them. Like, people look at Dan Jacobs and like, oh, he's awesome because he has the blood splatter guitar. He's like an icon with that. But people forget how good Travis Miguel is as a guitar player. He's very, very good as well. So that was up there for me. I thought Fair Wings of Vanity and Wax by Elisana.
Yep.
Like that early screamo stuff that all of us really got
that
into.
Mullcore shit that was actually really good.
Yeah, that everybody was like kind of made fun of it, but secretly everybody liked it.
Yeah,
So-
now everybody's naming their daughters Alisana.
Not everybody. Excuse you, sir. So that's something that came up for me. I thought about Plagues from the Devil Wears Prada just because it's so slimy and grimy, and that's kind of open.
Did you like that slimy and grimy?
At the time? Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy it, but I think there's definitely something about looking back at those type of those days, and you're like, maybe it could have been a little bit more.
It's fun,
Yeah.
but it's not refined by any means. So,
Definitely not.
question for you about the slimy and grimy. Was that kind of your introduction? Were you attracted to the slimy and grimy, or were you kind of like a slow introduction to the scene?
Well,
Because I had a relatively kind of gradual introduction.
Well, it was strange because it's because people, I think you and a lot of people view me as just kind of like a straightforward hardcore kid, at the surface. But like hardcore is something that came like maybe like my
In the 80s, man. It's been around for a while.
No, but I'm saying into my life, maybe like my late teens, like 18, 19. By the time that I really started to get into the hardcore style genre, I was already in doing this for
You're already doing metal, right?
7-8 years at that point. And I think when I think back of albums like when I was a teenager, I think of This War Is Ours by Escape the Fate. I think of
Good album.
Anything Under Oath related. Really.
I think I have a hard copy of that CD.
Do you?
In my car.
Really?
Yeah, This War Is Ours. And it has the Guillotine remix, the Clown remix on there and
God,
stuff.
that thing was horrible too.
I mean, it was all the way at the end,
Yeah, no,
it wasn't
no,
like
yeah.
in the album.
Yeah.
But no, that was a good album.
Yeah, I think of, and this is going to make you laugh, again, it's not really an introduction, but stuff from high school is like Hollywood Undead's first album. I really liked a lot.
That Swan Songs was a great album.
Yeah, it was a good album.
Say what you want about the band, but that everybody was on that Hollywood Undead boat at one point or another.
Absolutely. What else do I think of? A lot of Silverstein stuff because I always like Silverstein, but they're somebody that's gotten like really popular in my head recently. What else that's like really like A New Hope, Vanna. Like these are things that it's hard to pinpoint one. That's what I'm saying. Like when you brought it up, I'm like, dude, I don't even know where to begin. Like start. I'm like, do I do fucking like look, God? Do I go back and do I do fucking Slipknot self-titled because like that's like the emergence, or do I fucking do Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park? We just did a Linkin Park album. Do I want to do another one? But like. An album like Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park, I could do it like the back of my hand. I don't have to listen to it over again. I know every song
Sure.
like left and right. So it's kind of hard to pick one because there's various phases of my life where I've gone through different things. And
What's the earliest one you can remember?
like earliest
Earliest album that you like loved that was metal.
Shit.
Not necessarily earliest album, but earliest in your life.
Earliest album in my life that made me decide that this was my life. Shit, dude.
You don't know?
It's so hard.
Okay,
I
get
can't
you.
look back at one and just say this was it because it's just there was amalgamation of things that all kind of
Came together.
blended together at one time because Hybrid Theory was like it. Hybrid Theory was it. But like at the same time, like 2 months later, Slipknot was around in my head and I was like really into it.
Sure, absolutely.
And then there's Metallica and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to pinpoint.
Sure. Me on the other hand, I could pinpoint it exactly for
Okay.
you. I used to have this like clock radio by my bed, and when everybody would go to sleep, I just put the thing on like really low and just kind of like listen to music. And they had do you remember the Dr. Love show late at night where people would call in for like sex advice? And
That's Loveline.
Loveline, yeah, you remember that?
Yes,
Yeah,
that was my
I
shit.
listened to that, but
I would stay up till like 3 a.m. listening to that.
it was really entertaining, honestly. But there was this one night where that same radio station, I want to say it was Q101,
Yep.
played Wait and Bleed by Slipknot. I was like, damn, what the fuck is this? And I was like, this is really good, actually. And so, I told my buddy the next day, I was like, hey, man, you know of a band called Slipknot? He's like, fuck yeah, I know Slipknot, blah, blah. So he made me a copy of 9.0 Live because that was like right around the time it came out. And so I took that thing home with me and I listened to it. And I had Wait and Bleed on repeat. That was the only song I'd listened to for like a week or two, right? And I was like, fuck, I love this shit so much. And then I got around to listening to the rest of it. And if you know Slipknot, they've been around for a while, obviously, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing, what I'm going to say about 9.0 Live. There's certain bands that do live albums as a means of acquiring currency. Then there's other live albums that are there for the fans, whatever it may be. 9.0 Live is in no means super tight. Is it in no means the best Slipknot album ever? No. But you know what it was? It was that weird period in the band where everybody kind of disliked each other. When there was a lot of beef, Corey had his drinking problem, and it showed on some of his songs where, Mick Thompson, he's a phenomenal guitarist, him and James Root both, but they were kind of all over the place. And there's something beautiful about the sloppiness and the discord that goes around into it.
Around that time, Mick was literally telling people, he's like, I hate every single person in this band right now. Like, that's why he had hate on his guitar, because he couldn't deal with. He's like, once the show was over, we'd all go in the opposite direction. He's like, because I couldn't deal with Corey or Joey or none of that. They would just stay away from each other, which is so strange to me that they're still together because of all that.
Yeah, and some of these songs translate poorly, poorly live.
Yeah.
But some of them translate really well. Some of them that come to mind, Wait and Bleed. I think the vocal performance is fucking phenomenal. Another one, and this is probably the biggest one that stood out to me, was End of Everything, or It Ends. I can't remember what it's off.
End of Everything.
It's off Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa. Yeah.
But here's the thing. So I heard the live version first before I ever heard the album version. And when I heard the album version, I was like, wow, this is it. This is kind of underwhelming. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, damn, the live version of this song is so much grossly better than the album version, just because there's all of this heat and aggression underneath it. Cooked in, And I don't know, man. And that, how that goes. You like an album by a band and you're like, oh, I wonder what else they've done. And you start exploring and loving and learning. And around the same time, the Resident Evil movies were coming out and they had My Plague on there. It's like, hey, this is Slipknot too.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my introduction to the scene. And that was the earliest album that I can remember that I was like really like balls deep into. My buddy was like, yeah, dude, this one's called Disaster Piece, blah, 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 And then he would pause the song and he would pick up, he had a BC Rich Warwick, the same one that Mick used, except his was white. And he would just go, and I'm like, dude, that's so fucking gnarly. So we would just listen to Slipknot and we would just fucking do dumb shit and then just go, back to his place and just shred, man. So that was kind of my introduction. I'm sure a lot of kids have that Slipknot intro to them as well, because they were very accessible and kind of controversial when they were coming out, but that was the appeal, right?
Want to know like one of the earliest like Slipknot memories I've had, and this is like going way deep. I think I could probably still find this video if I really wanted to. Maybe it was like
interview, the Limp Bizkit one, or
no. It was a video. It was a video that somebody made. It was a wrestling compilation with like from like the independent scenes of like them people doing fucked up shit to each other. And like maybe this had to be like the very early dawning days of like YouTube, like 2005 it had to be. And I remember them having Wait and Bleed to one of the songs. I liked them previously, but I'm like, wow, this song really fucking kicks ass.
It works.
It was even like horribly edited to like loop back around because the song's only like 2.5 minutes long, but the video was like 3 minutes and like
some 12, change
15 seconds or something like that. So somebody like re-edited it in horribly like this last chorus so it ran through again. Yeah, those were like the fucking Wild West days of fucking YouTube. But that's like one of the early memories. But man, like I said, it's so for me, because how old I am, I mean, granted, I'm a little older than you are, but and how long I've been doing it, it's kind of hard to fucking keep track. Like I think of like Saint Anger by Metallica that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Even though like I look back and I'm like, wow, this album fucking sucks outside of like 3 songs. But
yeah, I mean, I'm sure all of our dads have played Enter Sandman before and shit like that, you know. But there's a difference between appreciating the greats like Metallica and enjoying a single here and there. But then there's something completely different about discovering a band you've never heard of before that's kind of up and coming and going, wow, this album fucking shreds.
Do you know who also was like that for me? 30 Seconds to Mars. When A Beautiful Lie came out, I'm like, holy shit, what is this? This is music on a different level.
I need more of this in my life.
Yeah, there's music on a different level. But again, so like, but people think, because you hear me on the podcast talk about hardcore and how I like heavy stuff. We're kind of, I guess, the inception of me in the scene that wasn't even in that ballpark. It's kind of funny, I guess.
It's funny. He's one of the musical producers for like that like emo rap that's going around now. He's a really cool guy by the name of Fantasy Camp. He's balls deep into hardcore. He grew up on that stuff, but I think it's kind of interesting that he went on to do rap and electro style beats. So hardcore has its reaches, and it kind of shows sometimes because he has that like dirty what am I thinking here, that drum beat, that the blast beats. Sometimes he throws like some like very, very faint blast beats in there, and you already know what he's going for.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know, this whole emo rap thing. I mean, like I said,
that's a thing of its own, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying hardcore is deeply rooted in more people than you'd think, and metal even greater reach.
There was that song that Halsey came out with that.
Oh, great!
Just recently, sorry.
Halsey, huh?
Yeah, Halsey. She came into that. Sounds like the song from Tattoo. Remember the band Tattoo?
Maybe.
It had that one music video where there was like lesbian love in like a church, and they're like Russian as fuck or whatever. That it sounds
it's
exactly.
Your first day of school, Thurman? No, I'm kidding. Do you remember that video?
You're stupid.
But yeah, go ahead. What Tattoo?
So like the intro of her new that one song that she came out, Nightmare, has like basically the same thing.
I don't know how many people I've told this to, but Halsey had 100th quote for her senior photo.
Yeah, you've mentioned this like a time or two. So yeah, that's again. I mean, I wish I had more for you guys, but it's hard to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes it is just a bunch of shit that comes together at the right time.
Yep, perfect storm, and it is what it is. All right, so I think we're gonna give Retro Review a break for a week. Maybe we'll think of another game.
We'll come back swing with some podcast games. I actually got one of brewing in my mind.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna go over it after the episode ends because I don't want to give anything away.
So I was actually looking at an older episode or listening to an older episode a couple weeks ago or like last week, and I remember we had to meme or not to meme. I might have to bring that one back. Remember to meme?
I misagree or disagree.
Yeah, that was a good one too. All right, so yeah,
a gyro is a Greek burrito. Get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
We're done.
Goodbye. All right. So other than that, I think that's the episode, Gabe.
Yeah.
I mean,
what do we have on that?
An hour and a half? That's not too bad.
No, I thought that was going to be way longer.
Especially, we spent like 50 minutes on fucking movies and TV, which I figured, that was going to be the big deal. But other than that, that was the Second City Kids Podcast, episode 125. We will see you back next week for 126. And until next week, from Jacob and Ghibli, goodbye. Oh, deuces. I did it again.
You're fucking up.
Deuces. Thank you guys for joining us this week on the Second City Kids Podcast. You can like us on iTunes, Google, anywhere else podcasts are found. Any comments, questions, or concern, you can email us at secondcitykids@gmail.com. Until next week, folks, deuces.